Hey everybody, in this video we are building a simple message form layout using HTML and CSS. You can see it has nice gradient background. The card itself has radius to the top left and bottom right parts. We see the form text with three inputs to the bottom section, which the first one is for email, second one is for phone number, and the last one is the message that you want to send. Then we can see a submit button, which is used for sending the message. It has nice black background with rounded corners. This button is animated, meaning when you click one, it shows nice shadows to the bottom of itself. But not only this button, these inputs, which I mentioned, they also have animated hover effects, as you can see. So in today's video, we're going to be creating just this one. Let's start creating it. But before starting, don't forget to like this video to give me energy to create more videos and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new cool videos. So sit back, relax, and follow along. We begin inside the body of the document. Inside the body, we place a main wrapper, which is a div with the class card container used to hold the entire card. This container is responsible for keeping everything grouped together and centered on the page. Inside that container, the first thing we add is a paragraph used as a heading. This will simply display the word form at the top of the card. It gives the user a clear idea of what this component is about. Next, we start adding our input sections. Each input lives inside its own wrapper div. First, we create a div with the class input div. Inside it, we place an input element of type text with the class input and a placeholder that says email. This will let the user know where to type their email. Next, we add another div with the class input div, and inside it an input of type text with the class input and a placeholder for phone. This is where the user can enter their phone number. Then we add a third div with the class input div and an input of type text with the class input and a placeholder for message. This allows the user to type their message. Finally, we create a div with the class button div. Inside it, we place a button with the class submit and the text submit. This button will be used to send the message. And that's all we need to know about the HTML structure. Then we start styling everything using CSS. Now moving into the CSS, we begin with the body styles. We set the height to fill the entire viewport. We use Flexbox to center everything both horizontally and vertically. We also remove default margin so the layout is clean. Finally, we apply a dark background and set a simple font for the whole page. That brings us to the card container itself. This element has a fixed height and uses a gradient background which gives it a modern look. We round only two corners to add some visual interest. Padding is added so the content does not touch the edges. A soft shadow is applied to lift the card off the background. We also add a smooth transition so future effects feel natural. We will continue from here in the next part. All right, let's continue exactly where we left off. After styling the card container, we move to the heading text inside the card. This heading is centered using Text Align Center. The font weight is set to 600 to make it stand out a bit more. We add padding on the top with a value of 1 rem so it breathes away from the edge. The font size is set to large so it is clearly visible. Next, we focus on the input wrapper divs. Each input div has a margin on the top set to 1 rem. This creates space between each field so they do not feel cramped. A transition is also applied with a value of 0.5 seconds ease in out. This prepares the element for smooth visual effects later. Now we style the actual input elements inside the card container. The background color is set to transparent so the gradient shows through. The border is removed completely. Then we add a border only to the bottom with 1 pixel solid black. The width of each input is set to 12 rem. Padding is applied with a value of 8 pixels, so typing feels comfortable. The outline is set to none to remove the default browser focus ring. After that, we move to the button wrapper. This button div uses Text Align Center so the submit button stays centered under the inputs. All right, now we move on to styling the submit button itself. The button has a margin on the top set to 3 rem, which pushes it away from the inputs. Padding is applied with 8 pixels on the top and bottom and 3 rem on the left and right. This gives the button a wide and clickable shape. The border is removed entirely. Just like the card, we round only 2 corners. The top left radius is set to 1 rem and the bottom right radius is also set to 1 rem. The background color of the button is set to black and the text color is set to white, so there is strong contrast. We also apply a transition with a value of 0.5 seconds ease in out. This ensures hover effects feel smooth. The cursor is set to pointer, so the user knows the button is clickable. Next, we handle the hover state of the submit button. On hover, we apply a layered box shadow effect. The first shadow uses RGBA 44, 43, 43, 0.664 with a 5 pixel offset on both axes. Then we stack additional shadows with offsets of 10 pixels, 15 pixels, 20 pixels, and 25 pixels. Each layer gradually becomes lighter using RGBA values 45, 45, 45, 0.3, then 60, 60, 59, 0.2, then 54, 50, 53, 0.1, and finally 2, 46, 170, 0.05. This creates a deep trailing shadow effect when hovering. Now we move on to styling the input placeholders and focus effects. First, we target the placeholder text inside the input fields. The color is set to black. This ensures that the placeholder is visible on top of the card's gradient background. Next, we style the input fields when they are focused. We add a transition with a value of 0.2 seconds ease in out to make the effect smooth. The box shadow is quite detailed. The first shadow uses RGBA 0000.17 with 0 pixels horizontal offset, negative 23 pixels vertical offset, 25 pixels blur, and 0 pixels spread, inset. The second shadow uses RGBA 0000.15 with 0 pixels horizontal, negative 36 pixels vertical, 30 pixels blur, 0 pixels spread, inset. The third shadow uses RGBA 0000.1 with 0, negative 79 pixels, 40 pixels blur, 0 pixels spread, inset. Then there are multiple outer shadows, RGBA 0000.06 with 0 to 1 pixels offset, RGBA 0000.09 with 0.4, 2 pixels, RGBA 0000.09 with 0.8, 4 pixels, RGBA 0000.09 with 0.16, 8 pixels, RGBA 000.09 with 0.32, 16 pixels. Finally, we handle the hover effect for inputs. The transition is the same 0.2 seconds ease in out. The box shadow is identical to the focus shadow. This means whenever the user hovers over the input field, it displays the same layered inset and outer shadow effect. At this point, we have covered all the main styling in the CSS file, and our message form looks nice and working. The card and its background, its rounded corners, its inputs, its button, and its hover effects, they are all done. So I think that's enough for today's tutorial video, but don't forget that I love you. And also, if you like my video, please consider liking it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. See you in the next one. Have fun.